Talor Browne, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of your work.
Thanks.
Yeah, I actually have a surprise for you. A little present.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
How exciting.
There you go.
Oh, mate. Oh, you have no idea.
Vegemite.
That makes me so happy. Thank you. Where did you get it?
I have a network.
This is like currency.
Yeah. It's it is currency.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Everyone that I know, I'm like, let me make you this golden slice of magic. Fresh sourdough toast, lots of butter, just a hint of Vegemite. They're like, oh, I get it. Everyone told me that this stuff was gross. And I'm like, no, it's not.
It's not.
It's magic.
You just have to eat it in the right way.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
What a gift.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah. Well, I love when you make the Vegemite scrolls. Like they're my favorite.
They are pretty magic. I get some funny feedback. Like most people love them, but somebody said to me the other day, where is the cheese? And I'm like, mate, I have put like 4 layers of cheese on those things.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the drivers at work, he's an Aussie as well.
Yeah.
And he had one the other day and he said it's the best Vegemite scroll he's had in his life.
Yeah,
So,
they're delicious. I've had my fair share of Vegemite scrolls, but yours are the best,
thank
hands
you.
down.
I mean, it's croissant pastry, 2 layers of cheese and Vegemite. Like, where can you go wrong?
Yeah, it's all the good things. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
No,
mate, I should have brought you one. Sorry.
No worries. Do you have them in the store now?
I don't think we because I make them all at once.
Yeah.
And we freeze them and
Yeah.
then we proof them and bake them on the day so that they're always fresh.
Gotcha.
But I don't think we took any out of the freezer last night. But I'll remember next time. I'll send you a message.
Posted it. Yeah, send me a message because I normally
Direct.
I see. Thank you. That's
Vegemite
what
scrolls direct to your inbox.
I got the hookup. I got the veggie hookup. Nice. That's good. One of the reasons I wanted to have you on as a guest of the podcast because I love what you've done with your business.
Thanks.
I'm a big fan of Talor Made, and I'm a big fan of people who have come to Norway from another country, in your case, Australia, and have built something successful.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about like the process that you went through to make that. And
It's been crazy. So
first of all, tell us what the name of your business is and how many stores you have and what you guys do.
So the name is Talor Made because my name is Taylor. You know, we love a good pun. We have 3 cafes right now in the building of the 4th. And then I also have like a production bakery and a coffee roastery as well, which is on a different site to the cafes. Yeah. So, and I built my first business I had like an online coffee roastery in 2016. And then I had my first brick and mortar in 2017. I don't have that business anymore, which is also a story in itself.
Yeah, because I read about you actually. It was in like a newspaper.
Oh, mate, it was a very public.
Yeah, it went tits up, didn't it?
It did go tits up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you want to like tell us what happened there? Or
Sure. So, I mean, I've been working in the coffee industry for a super long time. I knew I started working when I was 13, as I think is kind of normal for us Aussies. You know, you
get the kids out there.
Exactly. You want to get a bit of pocket money, so you get into work. And you know, I'm from proper like lower middle class kind of Aussie. Mum's a hairdresser. Dad was a butcher. Not a butcher, like he worked in the abattoir. So
and whereabouts in Australia was this?
I grew up in Wodonga. So like between Melbourne and Sydney.
Yeah, on the border, the Albury-Wodonga on the border.
Yep.
Oh shit, that's pretty rural.
Super rural. Yeah, I grew up on a farm, 100 acres, beef cattle. Yeah.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So started working when I was young, and I just knew I was making coffee for people at Muffin Break, and I would have customers come back and say, you know, I only come here when you're working because you make the best coffee. And I just knew something in me. I was like, I know I want to do this for the rest of my life.
So at 13, you go, bang, that's it.
I knew even before I was working though too, because I would look at cafes and I would romanticize the idea of it and be like, oh, I want to do that. So
so that you found your purpose pretty young then.
I did, yeah. And I think I'm pretty lucky in that
really
regard.
Lucky.
Yeah. Because you can just put all your energy into, and I think if you know what goal you're working towards, it makes it a lot easier. So
the question of purpose is really fascinating to me because I believe that if you understand your purpose and you utilize the years between 14 and 21 to work towards that purpose, by the time you want to start doing it, like starting a business or becoming an athlete or a singer or whatever it is, you've got so many years of experience under your belt at an intellectual level, which allows you to process information, and your brain is a bit more developed and you can work towards that goal.
Yeah,
so
100%.
did you discover that purpose through people saying to you that you were really good at something and you gravitated towards it, or were you really good at something because you just loved doing it?
I think it was probably a combination of both.
Yeah.
Because I definitely was romanticizing the idea of like a cafe. But this is kind of before coffee was really considered to be like a real job. It was always like you were doing it as something else on the side of your studies, or this is before specialty coffee was really recognized as a thing.
Yeah, because coffee's fucking taken off.
Oh, yeah.
In the last 10, 15 years, maybe.
The specialty part of the coffee sector is growing gangbusters every single year.
Yeah.
And I remember the conversation with my parents saying like, but what are you going to do when you work out what you want to do? And I'm like, I'm 100%. Even in school, I was doing like a traineeship. So where I would work like Thursday afternoons into the evenings as like working at this cafe and earning certificates and stuff like that. So, and yeah, I knew like as soon as I graduated high school that I was going to move to Melbourne, and I wanted to work at the best specialty coffee place in Melbourne, which I did. I went on the train, and with a stack full of resumes, and I went to the number one place in the like coffee guide Bible thingy.
Yeah.
And then I lost my stack of resumes. I only dropped one resume off.
Oh, shit.
And so I was Devo, because, this is before you can't print anything else out.
No.
This is we barely had, I don't think we even had iPhones back then.
No.
So I had to go like tail between my legs back to Wodonga on the train, like took 3.5 hours.
You lost the resumes.
I lost the resumes, and I only dropped one. And it was at this one place that I really wanted to work at, like the number one.
Yeah.
And then I didn't hear anything. And then I was like, I checked my email 2 weeks later, and Mark Dundon, who then became my boss, had sent me an email saying like, yeah, come in and do a trial. So went on the train, took my little sandwich, wore my Crocs, had a shift at the cafe and got a job. And this was St. Ali in Melbourne back in 2008, 2007 maybe. Yeah, something like that.
Wow. But there is something kind of, I don't know, like fatalistic, or some element of destiny, or some element of just when that's the one place that you want to go to, like that's the one, and you don't have any other options. Like there's no plan B when you drop all your CVs off. So there is something to that element of like, I'm going to make it work here, determined to make it work here. No, 'cause there's no plan B.
I mean, the other crazy thing that happened is not long after I started working there, they actually sold the business. And they like changed the name of they sold that original business. And, they had a staff of like 25 people or something. And they took 3 of us. They took me and 2 other guys to work in this little cafe in the city called Brother Boudin. Which is kind of like this iconic Melbourne cafe with these chairs hanging from the ceiling. It's still like one of the best coffee shops in Melbourne today. And yeah, like the team of us 3, and we helped them, helped opening the next shop, which was 7 Siege, which was this like massive, kind of like, I don't know, it's like a specialty coffee Melbourne mecca, like hub. Yeah, it was brilliant being able to like be a part of that kind of foundation team with 7 Seeds and Mark and Bridget.
Okay. So how old are you here at this stage?
I was 19.
So then you got to be involved in the process of opening a new place.
Yeah.
So you got to see it as an employee.
Like firsthand.
Wow.
But also like I was also young and dumb as well.
Yeah, of course.
But also could work like crazy hard. So
yeah.
But yeah, and just like working for those guys, very inspiring. And they were real like, I don't know what's the word, like they were on the frontier they were pushing the boundaries in specialty coffee at the time, and they're still doing the same thing now. But yeah, I just like wanted to learn, wanted to make great coffee, having a good life. And
did you were you studying at the same time, or were you okay?
No, all the eggs in one basket.
Wow, that's it, huh?
Yeah,
we're going for it.
But I just knew, I knew that this was what I was good at, and I knew that I just wanted to keep on learning, and I was super hungry and just wanted to excel all the time. Honestly, like I still, even with everything that I do today, being on bar, making coffees for people and having a positive impact on their day is literally, it is my bread and butter. I love it. I never, I think I'm 34 now. And I just don't think that I have the stamina to be able to do these things anymore. But it's still my favorite place to be.
Yeah, well, I guess you're so busy with everything else as well.
But, you know, I feel like it's still the most important place for me to is like be connecting with our customers over the bar.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's just something so magical.
Yeah.
Whether it be a donut or whether it be coffee, making something delicious for someone and watching them enjoy it. It is honestly one of the most mesmerizing and like it quenches the thirst in my soul.
Wow.
I don't know. It's really special.
Yeah. You love watching them enjoy what you make.
Just watching people, like giving people joy through making them through your work. I don't know. I just think it's so incredible. I think you would probably get the same with the podcast. Like when you get positive feedback on the podcast, like
it means a lot. It means a lot. And another thing that I do is I do stand-up comedy.
Ah, cool.
So one of the things that I love about stand-up comedy is you get that automatic response. You know what I mean? Like when you say a joke and they laugh and the crowd just is having a good time, you go, that was a good one. I made you guys feel good. And then it makes you feel good.
Yeah. And it's this like cyclical, beautiful, I think it's a very human connection, comfort kind of thing. Yeah. It's magic. I love it.
Yeah. That's why it's like, I find it very difficult for people to be able to succeed in something unless they have an obsession for it or a passion for it. Because if you start losing the passion, then you just like, you're not as dedicated, and you know, the people that you're serving or working with, they sense it and they go, you don't want to be here. Like we've all been to restaurants or businesses or places like that, and you've gotten bad. So you can just tell they don't want to be here, that they're not into it. It's not their thing.
And what I think is quite interesting is that because of how interconnected we are nowadays and how rapid fire communication is, I think that, you know, the generations coming are a lot more cluey about stuff like that than any generation ever has been before, that you can smell bullshit from a mile away.
Yeah, it's true.
Yep. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I don't want to work with people. I don't want to do things unless people are into it. Yeah. Because it's just so like, why would you waste your time?
Yeah, you can't do it.
Also, why would I want to waste time in my life doing something that I don't absolutely love?
No. Yeah, exactly. It's too short.
But I feel quite lucky that
you found your purpose.
That I've been able to like spin something that I love so much into a way that not only like I can have a good life, but also like a whole bunch of other people as well. Like I think that's so cool.
Like your staff and customers
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel like this. I'm kind of jumping from bit to bit, but
that's what we do here.
Yeah. I feel as if I'm not sure how your experience has been, but I feel like my whole life I've been a little bit of an outsider. You know, I got bullied a bit in school, and you know, in my mid-20s and like late teens, early 20s, when I moved to Melbourne, I really found my people and I really found my place in the world. But you know, thrusting yourself into a new culture and a new country, I felt like an outsider again. And I feel like no matter how much I integrate into the society, I'll always be a little bit of an outsider. So part of me building this business was that I wanted to light a beacon a little bit of like, everyone that feels like you don't have a place to belong, you're welcome with us. And my sister even said this to me the other day, because, you know, it's kind of funny when you're the boss, it's actually, you can't really participate that much in the business, because, you know, it's always going to be a weird power dynamic with your employees and with your customers as well. Like, I'm not on the bar every day with them. They know who I am, which is really brilliant, and we get to have great interactions when we see each other. But you know, you're not necessarily like in that community. You're the creator of that community. Yeah. And my sister said this to me. I said, you know, it just feels a little bit lonely, and I always feel like I'm the one that's like left out. And she said, Taylor, you know, maybe your job is not to be the person who is in the community, but the person who makes the space for it. Yeah. And that's kind of what I feel like I've gone to make, is that like, if you're a weirdo, if you know, you don't fit in with other people, you're welcome here with us. Like, this is a place where you can come in and you'll feel like you belong. Yeah. And yeah, it's this, we make coffee and we make donuts and we make other delicious things as well. But I think like the basic essence of it is that I just wanted, when you walk in the door of any of our stores, that you feel like you've been transported into a different place.
It feels like that.
It does.
It does. Oh my God. It really does.
Mate, that makes me so happy to hear that.
So I go up there to the store in New Darlin. I walk the kids up there. We take the dog. And when we go inside, I just, I don't feel like I'm, like, especially when it's like weather like it is today, like a gray autumn rain. so much neon and so much colors, and the donuts are so colorful, and everyone's so friendly, and it just really does look like I'm somewhere else. Like, you know where it feels like I am? It feels like I am in your mind.
Yeah.
I feel like you've created this visual representation.
You just gave me goosebumps. That's so nice to hear.
Yeah, I love it. It's an experience going there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
That was the idea. I didn't necessarily I wanted to make a place that was like comfortable, but also not a place that was kushler. Because I think that there's a lot of those places that exist already.
Tons of them.
And you know, for me, the idea and the reason why I took so long and I took so many years to finally decide, okay, now is my time to do something, is because I was like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to value add. I don't want to just emulate, and I don't want to imitate, and I don't want to just build on what exists already. I want to create something new because, you know, why would I spend all of my life learning from others, like, you know, getting better at what I do, unless I was going to contribute?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'm really glad that you see it. Oh my God.
Yeah, I see it. And I think everybody sees it. You know what I mean? The kids see it as well. And like the youngest one is 5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He goes, can we go to Talor? We got to go. I go,
really?
Yeah. Hey, I can't get him to eat the Vegemite scrolls though. He wants donuts. I'm like, the made veggie. He doesn't eat Vegemite anyway.
Okay.
I try.
Yeah.
I try to fucking force feed him Vegemite. He's not into it. But he'll smash a donut like a legend.
You know, and I think one of the most, because I mean, my bread and butter is coffee, right?
Yeah.
But I think that the donuts were always meant to be, I didn't want to just make a coffee shop. I saw that tons of people had made coffee shops and they just got the same shit as everyone else. Granola, brownies, cinnamon buns, and from the same distributor. They didn't make them themselves. They put so much love into their coffee and the food was always just an afterthought. And I was like, okay, I want to have delicious coffee, but I also want to have something that no one's done before. And I was like, well, you know, no one in Norway has done donuts ever. And the people who are my investors, they said like, oh, you know, Norwegians are so health conscious. It's never going to happen. And I was like, well, okay, well, just watch me then, I guess. And yeah, the whole idea was that I wanted to make specialty coffee for everybody, you know, because you have to make a choice when you have kids. It's like, okay, am I going to go to Tim Wendelboe or am I going to go to I mean, what's the place? Espresso House, you know, because they have something for your kids too.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to make a space where you can be both and both be amazing. And, you know, the donuts are just this driver that bring in people who wouldn't normally see themselves as like specialty coffee consumers.
Gotcha.
And I think in specialty, like one of our goals in this industry is that because we have a little bit better, not perfect, but I would say like ethical guidelines about the way that we deal with coffee producers, coffee producing countries, like the way we pay for the coffee, so that we want to grow this industry. You know, we want to have a bigger impact. And so me being able to build a business that was successful and that could grow, it would then have like a flow-on positive effect of all the suppliers that we work with.
Yeah, that's important.
So yeah, making a space that's for everyone, being able to, you know, people drink our coffee without even realizing anything about it and they love it and they're like, I don't know why I like it, but it's good.
Yeah.
Just because they come in for a donut and they're like, oh, you know, I think I want to have a coffee at the same time. Or you have a slush. Like, why not?
Yeah.
You can have like a 90-point coffee, some of the highest quality coffee in the world alongside like an artificial cherry flavored cola slush. Like it's great.
Yeah, it is.
You can have it all.
Yeah.
You can have it all. So
was it a challenge for you to launch your business in Oslo as a foreigner?
Do you know what? I actually think that one of the reasons why I've been able to be so successful is because there's so much opportunity here. In my opinion, I think that the concept of janteloven is it kind of squashes people's ambition
and innovation. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I think
it's a weird concept, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you spoken much about this idea before?
Only with my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe for people who are listening that don't understand what it is, it's just this. It's like tall poppy syndrome, basically. Yeah. Like you're not special. You don't deserve anything more than anyone else. Your ideas are not worth anything.
It's not very inspiring.
I appreciate the sentiment behind it, which is like everybody needs to come up together.
Yeah.
But you know, if no one's pushing, the masses, the group doesn't move.
Exactly. Yeah. Because you need somebody to try to break through that Janteloven so that everybody can move forward.
Exactly. Otherwise you just stay in the same place. And that was kind of what Oslo was like when I moved here in 2012.
Yeah. I wonder if, like, say, for example, the Janteloven is something that has stifled innovation in Norway for a long time. Like when I sometimes compare Norway to Sweden, and Sweden have like, so many bigger brands, like we'll say, if like H&M and Spotify and like the car industry, and they had Sony Ericsson, and you know what I mean? And I don't really see a lot of these big global companies coming out of Norway. And I keep thinking, is that a Janteloven inspired concept?
I mean, I have been a little bit around like when I was starting the business and stuff, I was kind of in the peripheral of the startup community here. And yeah, even it's almost this like shameful idea. Like people are hungry and innovative and entrepreneurial, and it's got a weird thing around it of it being like slightly shameful or something. I don't know. I have no idea what it is.
I think it's changing now though.
I think it is
and
too.
I think there's like a culture for pushing innovation, and I know in the startup communities, the places like Mesh and Innovation Norway and things like that, I think they're really trying to promote people who want to
space.
Yeah, people who want to make things happen. Yeah.
But yeah, coming back to your question, I honestly think that the reason why I've been able to succeed is because there was room for me to do so here.
Yeah.
And what's been really magic is that even from the first day that I had a pop-up in my apartment.
So that's how you started. You did a pop-up in your apartment.
I did. So I was working for Tim. I moved here to work for him. He offered me a job when I was living in Paris. So I moved from Paris to Oslo. I got to Paris because someone else had offered me a job to move to Paris and help them open some cafes. So yeah, I've made some people. The reason why this guy offered me this job is he said I made him a coffee that changed his life.
Holy shit.
And he's not the only person that's said that to me before. I actually met someone last week. I was in London to speak at the European Coffee Symposium. And there was a guy who came up to me and he's like, someone told me that you used to work at this place called Brother Baba Boudin. And he said, I had a coffee there however many years ago. And he said, I have talked about this coffee to almost every single person that I know. He said, that coffee was the reason why I've, I started in the coffee industry. And this guy is working for this huge multinational coffee company. And I said, I wonder who it was. And he said, and he described the person. I was like, mate, that was me. I made you that. He's like, this woman with this big red skirt. And I was like, yeah, it was definitely me.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
What a small world.
It is. It's tiny. Yeah. I mean, the coffee community is pretty tiny. So, but no, so I was living in Paris. Tim offered me a job, came to Oslo, depths of winter, December 2012. Like it was minus 20 degrees.
Oh, just before the Mayan apocalypse.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Life has never been the same since 2012.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
2012 was a good year. Yeah. And then it's never been good again.
No. It's all downhill since 2012.
I know. But yeah, so Tim's team, even though he has such an enormous international impact, he has a very small team. And, there was a lot of people that have been working there for a lot longer than I have. And I was never going to get further than how I ended up, I was the head roaster there. But I wasn't ever going to get any further. And Tim and I both have pretty strong personalities as well. So like just a bit of butting heads. And I was like, okay, it's time for me to move on. I don't think there's anything else that's going to happen from this. And I was like, once you work for Tim in coffee, there's kind of nowhere else to go. Yeah. Like that's the top. Yeah. That's it. Unless you have your own company, that's it. So I was like looking around at a couple of jobs and it just wasn't nothing was happening. And I pitched the idea to a couple of big coffee companies here. Like, hey, I can build your own coffee roastery. I can save you this much money a year if you produce your own coffee, and you can increase your sales by this much by having your own retail, blah, blah, blah. And I, in one of those conversations, I met who became my business partner. His name is Jürgen. And he and I started like working on some budgets together to pitch to his bosses at this coffee company. And then in those conversations, we basically went like, we think about things the same way. I wonder how much money it would take for us to do this ourselves and what that would look like. Okay. And then we were like, you know what? Let's do this ourselves, actually.
Good. Nice.
Yeah. So we started, Talor and Jürgen, we started online and we launched in 2016. And simultaneously while that was happening, a guy that I'd made coffee for at Tim Wendelbo said to me, I hear that you're working on a business concept. I have these investors that are looking to invest in some business concepts. We have this, we're taking over this whole building site at Youngstorget, which was then like a derelict building site.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, I hear that you want to make a coffee roastery. Would you ever consider having a cafe? And I was like, yeah, I would, but I don't want to make just a cafe. If I'm going to make something, I'm going to make it something really extraordinary. And then that was when the whole thing with donuts got started. I flew to Melbourne and I did like a stage in my friend's donut shop. It's called All Day Donuts in Brunswick. And I learned how to make donuts. And then I came back to Oslo and I started working on them in my kitchen. So like working on recipes, like coming up with flavor ideas and stuff like that. And because I always had so many leftover donuts, I used to take them on the 20 bus and like give them away to people. I'm like, I don't want to throw them away.
Yeah. Of course.
And then so like the first pop-up I did, I was working part-time at this cafe in Santertown called Java. And I did a pop-up on Valentine's Day. I made like love heart-shaped donuts. That was the first one that I ever did. And then about 3 weeks or so later, I did a pop-up in my apartment for Restaurant Day.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. That was the first. Well, that was like kind of the first one. And I opened my door. I'd been working all through the night. I opened my door and there was a person, the first in line, there was a door like 50 meters long out of my front door of my apartment. And the first person was like, can I have 12? And I didn't have anything ready yet. And so I got my husband and some of my friends were in the line. I was like, can you help me, please? So they came and helped me. And I think we made like 14,000 kroner or something on the first day. And I sold out of everything. And there were people still showing up being like, I heard that there was donuts.
Wow. So the news just spread so quickly.
It was crazy.
And you sold out like that.
It was crazy. And I remember just like sitting on the floor in my living room.
Yeah.
Just going like, what have I done? And, you know, Jürgen wasn't involved in the donuts at this point. We were kind of like doing the roastery. I was working part-time. We'd do the roastery a couple of days a week. I'd do part-time work at this cafe and I was doing the donut stuff on my own. But then I would have a whole bunch of people saying like, hey, I saw you did this pop-up. Do you want to do a pop-up at our shop or our cafe or our bar? Or so yeah, Dimitri from Oslo Brewing Company was running the bar that's at Martalen.
Yeah.
And he said like, hey, we have a kitchen upstairs. I'm American. I miss donuts. Do you want to come and do a pop-up at the bar? So we did. And I roped Jürgen into helping me because Jürgen was like, oh, you know, it just makes sense if we run this through Talor and Jürgen because, you know, we can use the profit from the events to like bolster the roasting. You know, at the time we were like shipping coffee to like 50 countries all around the world. The roastery had also kind of like popped off as well.
Yeah.
You know, we were doing some like really cool and innovative things with the roasting as well.
Yeah.
We rented a roaster like 1 day a week and I'd roast everything and then we'd pack and send everything the next day.
Okay.
So yeah.
Shit.
So there was a lot going on.
Seems like though every time you did something in that direction, it was successful.
Yeah, but I mean, the reason why is because I've spent, you know, I'm 34. I started when I was 13. At that point, I'd been working in the industry for 15 years and I'd cultivated a really good reputation because I do good shit,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
So you spent a long time getting real good at what you do.
Yeah, exactly.
A long time.
Yeah.
And you're passionate about it. So then when you do something, you have the experience and the passion and the skill set.
Yeah. And people listen and they care. And
Yeah.
I think I'm also like, I've always been a big believer that you don't just do, but you talk about what you're doing. It's like you share the journey.
Yeah.
Rather than just do it, like you show the finished product, like
show the process.
Yeah, show the process.
Yeah, so you get people invested and on board, and they like.
I mean, it's not really the intention, but I'm just one of those people. I think it comes from being like just completely honest, like probably a little insecure. And I want to show, like, love me, look at what I'm doing. Like I promise I do good things. You know, I'm the youngest kid in my family and I spent my whole childhood like begging for my parents' love. So
so it created that like chip on the shoulder or something.
Not chip in the shoulder, but I just want to show that I'm worthy.
I got you.
You know,
let them know.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm doing good stuff.
So, and I mean, social media just ended up becoming like the platform with which I share, and I try to be as honest as possible.
Yeah.
But I think what's really interesting is that the more common that social media has become, and I think the more that people use it as like an advertising tool, for me, I feel like social media has become a little bit not genuine anymore, because it's so people spend so much time like managing their image and stuff, and so it makes me not want to participate in it the same way that I used to anymore. Also because like sometimes people misconstrue the things that you're saying, and maybe they don't, us talking right now, I feel like I'm saying something and hoping that you understand what I say.
Every word.
Exactly.
Yeah, but we're sitting here and I'm looking at you.
Everything that I say to you is then kind of filtered through your entire life's history.
Yes.
And every word, and your brain is firing off different things based on the words that come out of my mouth. And, communication is never just I say and you hear. It's like I say and you filter it through your whole culture and history and all of those things. So, yeah, and I feel like that barrier is I just wish I could be direct.
Yeah.
But it never is. It never can be.
There's another filter involved. There's a lot more filters involved, actually. But there's another big one that's involved when people interpret your meaning through social media.
Yeah.
And a big factor is the way that they're feeling at the time that they see your message. So if somebody sees a post and, they've had a shit day or just argued with their wife, then they have that filter of negativity as they interpret what you're trying to say through that lens. So it's all their past experiences, including the experience that they're going through at the moment.
The current emotional state.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And for me, I almost feel like completely just constrained by this.
Yeah.
Because if I can't get you to understand exactly what I'm trying to say, then I almost don't want to say anything at all, because it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel I'm more and more getting into this feeling lately. So.
You know what I have to do? I don't have to do it, but I do it to try to communicate meaning, is add so many emojis.
Yeah.
I add emojis to everything. Just be like smiley face, hands up, love heart. Because sometimes I've sent things without things and people are like, what did you mean by that?
Yep.
What are you trying to say by that? I'm like, oh, you misinterpreted it.
You know what? Even some of the emojis that we would read as something else to the next generation, they also mean very different things.
Exactly.
You're not meant to use the emoji laughing, crying face anymore. Apparently that's like not the right thing to use.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It triggers people. The laughing one?
The one with the tears, like, yeah.
You can't use that?
Apparently that's not acceptable to use anymore.
Why? It's the laughing emoji.
Apparently the one that's like the tears down the face is the new, like, considered to be the correct laughing emoji. But
fuck that.
Maybe I am also wrong. I feel like
there's so many different interpretations of everything. I'm never stopping to use that emoji. I use the emoji with the smiley face to the side and then laughing.
Boomer emojis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's those old guy emojis. Shit. Yeah, but you are right. Whenever I watch a video or something on social media, or my kid shows me something, go check out this. I go, that's 90% fake.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to approach that. Like, people go, look at this video. Look what they have. That's all set up. Look at that angle. He's wearing a microphone. You know what I mean? So many of these things, you just have to take them with such a huge grain of salt.
Exactly. And I mean, I think I've been a big user of social media my whole life, when I was a teenager, MySpace top 8,
fucking
classic.
Flex MySpace.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think the older that I get, or at least how I'm feeling now, is that I really prefer to have have intimate conversations with people.
Yeah.
And, invite people to my home and have and not share that I'm hanging out with my friends, but have a small circle of friends that I am invested in their lives, and that we don't share, like, we don't text very much even. It's just like when I see you, I catch up with you.
Yeah.
And that's when I spend good time with you. And I kind of feel that way a little bit with my customers too.
Yeah.
I feel like I still talk to people on social media a little bit, but I think the value that I find is when I'm actually like face to face with you in the cafes, and I'm making you something. And I don't know. I think that social media, what it's become, it's just different for me now.
Me too. And like, I had this conversation with my girlfriend the other day. I was like, how many people do you interact with every day? Like, what do you think the number is? She goes, what kind of interactions? I go, all people in all areas. Like, how many do you reckon?
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't know, I'm a nurse, and I text a couple of people, like, I don't know, maybe like 10, 15. Okay, how about you? Okay, today I dealt with probably 100 people.
Yeah.
And like so many people are texting me and messaging me, and I'm messaging with them, and I'm communicating with people by email at different stages of production and doing comedy and performing. There's a lot. And I just can't, like, I'm very strict with my use of communications with social media. Like, I'll not be available all the time.
That's healthy.
I need it. And even though just doing that, there's a kind of culture where people expect instant answers. Like, somebody will fucking send me a message at like 11 o'clock at night, and then I won't answer them until maybe the next day. And before I even look again, it's like question mark. Did you see this? I'm like, dude, chill the fuck out, bro. Like, relax.
I mean, I think from the outside, I think Talor Made looks like a much larger company than it actually is. And I also get messages. There are people that message me at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday.
Yeah, of course.
And they expect you to respond immediately. And I'm like, mate, I'm one person, and I also deserve days off.
Yeah, for sure.
And also, like, why do you think that I need to answer you about what donuts we have the next day at 3 o'clock in the morning on Sunday? I'm guessing they're just drunk and they're just really excited.
For sure. They're like, oh, we're going to get donuts tomorrow. Check it out. What do we got? Oh, is my favorite going to be there?
Yeah.
Am I going to stay up all night? Yeah.
But I think a lot of people don't realize that it's actually me behind the social media. I think a lot of people think that I've
got a
delegated
team
that
this,
role. Yeah. But it's just, that's so unrealistic with the way that business is in Norway. Like, it's even though we're 45 people, it's still very small. So yeah.
It's I had a friend who worked for a company that was in the service industry that had several chains, and she was doing the social media for this company, and the CEO was like very demanding that she responds to people all the time, almost like no time off, and she has a family and a life, and no, you have to answer them all the time. And then she's just like, fuck this. I can't do it. Because being available, that feeling of just being available, it's so draining. Yeah. And if you don't set boundaries for yourself, there won't be anything of you left to create the magic that people love in the first place.
It's interesting that you say that, because it's one of the reasons why I haven't delegated this job away, because I don't think that I could ever expect anybody to do this job the way that I do, and the way that I would like it to be done for the feeling that it gives our customers. Yeah. Because, you know, that intimacy and that immediacy that I do try to uphold where I can, I think that I could never expect that from a paid employee. No. And I think it's nice because it does give it the business has the value of having like an honest and direct voice from the person who is directly invested in everything that's going on. Yeah. But yeah, I just don't think that it could be replicated by a person that's doing social media management.
No, I don't think it can either. And you have a look at maybe some celebrities' social media accounts, and you can tell that it's not them. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like whether they're posting things on like Twitter or Instagram, you just go, that's not you. You know what I mean? Like,
it's interesting that you say that, because I think that there is a lot of value that we have as people with brands feeling honest and authentic. And you know, when something doesn't, that we get a little bit of a weird twinge. Yeah. I think it just says a lot about like where we're currently at in the cultural, you know.
Definitely. One more thing though is I do understand how people would get somebody else to handle stuff like that, because then they don't have to worry so much about all of this time that they have to dedicate to communication, and then they can just focus on whether it's comedy or the thing that they do. Because what happens with a lot of, you see this a lot with like athletes, is that they'll spend a lot of time doing other things like ads or promos or online and social media, and then they start losing, and then they start like not being able to perform as much because they're just not focused on that one thing that got them to the party. So I can definitely understand how some people end up doing that, but then you lose a little bit of the personal thing, but at a certain scale, you know what I mean? Like with millions of people or hundreds of thousands, or that, you know, it can be a little, it can just definitely be a bit overwhelming.
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
I mean, you have to be very conscious of how you spend your energy. Like you have a limited amount of minutes in the day. You have probably you get a husband and a family and hobbies and interests and sleep and entertainment and focus on what you're passionate about. If you don't get that balance right, the whole fucking thing collapses. And you see so many people who get burned out because they're just doing too much, or you get that feeling where I'm stretched thin. Like, oh my God. And your body just goes, no, now you're sick. Now you're not doing anything. We're forcing you to relax. Or
I've hit that wall before.
That's the fucking thing. You end up hitting the wall. You know, that's what they say in Norwegian, right? Du treffer veggen. Yeah, traff veggen. And you're like, I got to do everything I can so that wall is, so you come close to it, but okay.
I mean,
relax.
that's what happened with my first business.
Okay.
So we opened in 2017.
Yeah.
And we opened on Youngstorget. And at the last donut pop-up that we did, it was maybe like 3 or 4 weeks before we opened, and it was at in Tøyen, at Tøyen Startup Village. And I think that the line was like 1 kilometer long.
Oh, that's so crazy.
And I'd been working through the night. I started at 9:30 or 10 p.m. And I think we made 900 donuts all by hand.
That's not enough.
But that's as many as we could make.
That's one donut per meter.
We had like a limit of the maximum that you could have is 4 per person.
Yeah.
And we've sold out in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And people were raging, like, you're doing this on purpose. You're not making enough. And I'm like, I've been making it.
That's so crazy.
So I thought when we opened that there's no way that we could do more than a pop-up every single day. I'm like, we could make, we would sell 50 donuts on a normal day.
Yeah.
You know, that's how many bakery products that people sell in a normal cafe. That's actually a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, so every single day it was a pop-up. We would make 400, and then we'd make 1,000. Like the cap was like 1,000 or 1,200, just because we had an extremely small kitchen that we shared with other people. You know, I just didn't know that it was going to be as big as it was. And so we had a completely new team of people. These people had never made donuts before. Some of them had never been baristas before. I was also roasting all the coffee as well. So running the kitchen, running the roastery, helping train the baristas. And I would get to work at 5:30 in the morning, and I'd leave at 9 o'clock at night.
That's so crazy.
And you know, there were nights where the shop was filled with sewage because like they were doing building in the area, and like there was a flood. So there was a night where I was like basically just scooping poop with my hands, and then had to be in the kitchen, you know, a couple hours later. And you know, Jürgen was going through his own like personal stuff at this time, and so he wasn't really around. And he kind of said to me, like, I don't think that I can be present. We sat down and he said to me, like, I'm going through this stuff. I just don't think that I can be as present right now. And I said, you know what, man, I got you. Like, this is it. For me, this is like the culmination of all of these years of work for me. And I said, I will pour my soul into this place. And I mean, you can see it when you go there. Like, this place was built by me. You know, every inch of my life is on every inch of that place. So, and you know, I ended up doing like 350 hours a month. And no, it was and just on end and going. And my husband was looking at me, and I'd lost a lot of weight, and I was really like mentally not doing very well. And yeah, I just hit the wall. Yeah. And I said to Jürgen, and I also said to my investors as well, I said, I can't keep going like this because I think I will die. Like, I think I will commit suicide because I can't do this anymore, because it was never enough. Like, customers were coming to me and being like, you're doing this on purpose. And, you know, I would have customers who would, in the beginning, we had to have a limit because, you know, if we sold everyone however many they wanted, we would sell out at 10 o'clock in the morning. Like, and so we would say, you know, 2 per person, because we just wanted to make it fair. A guy came in and he was like, there was 4 donuts left. And he's like, you're going to give me all 4 of those. And I said, like, you know, the reason why we have donuts now for you is because everyone else, you know, followed the rules. And he's like, well, I've been in here every single day and you've never had enough. And you need to give me these now. And I was so tired. And I just looked at him. I'm like, why are you special? Like, this, I want the next person after you to be able to have a nice experience too. And like, we ended up having, it's one of the few times that I've ever had like a across the counter row with someone, just because he was being very entitled and rude. But yeah, I was struggling. And also I had this idea that I wanted to create a business that would hire people that were neurodiverse. because
That were what, sorry?
neurodiverse, like how to be funky brains, you know, because it's my people.
Yeah, neurodiverse.
yeah.
I've not heard that before.
Yeah, I mean, neurodiverse means like many different things, but you know, people who suffer from mental health issues, or you know, people that are on the spectrum, or people that have been outside of working culture because they haven't quite find their place that they fit. And so I had this idea that I wanted to create a space for people like that.
Because you felt like you were like that, or a misfit, or didn't fit in, and so you created that space for
I mean,
them.
my brain was just cobbled together in a bit of a different way, I guess. And so like a bunch of people who hadn't really worked in a long time, or you know, and certainly none of them had made donuts before, because you know we were doing this for the first time. So, and for me, I wanted to take the weight off these people, and I was like, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix everything. And I think what ended up happening is that I didn't give them enough like responsibility. I didn't delegate to them, and I didn't give them a sense of control. And it was coming from a really good place. Like I wanted to make sure that they had a really healthy work day. You know, you do 7.5 hours, you have a big healthy lunch. You know, when you go home, you don't have to think about work anymore. Just because I'd worked for a lot of people all my life, and I felt like I could do this better, you know, and just what that ended up, So
you wanted to protect your staff from the burden that you ended up taking on yourself.
Yeah. And it almost killed me.
Yeah, that's too, that's...
I was an idiot. Like I just didn't do things the right way. So yeah, I went to my investors and I went to Jürgen and I said, like, I will not be able to survive if I keep on going this way. And, you know, I'd even said to I said to my husband how I was feeling, and he said, this thing is not worth your life. You know, you've got to walk away. And I said, well, I can't walk away because I've built this thing and I'm responsible for it, and it's my life's work and it's my life's dream. And anyway, the thing that ended up happening it's like absolutely grotesque to think about it. Jürgen and my investors just got together and they're like, well, you know, if this is killing you, then goodbye. That's it.
So they didn't recognize everything that you had done had led up to that point.
They didn't care. It was just like, the job's done. You're completely depleted. We've used what we need from you.
That's so fucking gross.
It's fucked.
Yeah.
And you know, I think it's a little bit of me being Australian as well, and they're all Norwegians.
Yeah.
Is like, okay, we'll just take that. Good for you. And so
shit.
they tried to hand me, like, they tried to fire me.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like, they were trying to get me out, give me the uppsigelse by the end of September or something. And my lawyer, because I had to hire a lawyer, you know, like the lawyer was like, if I was you, don't be at home today, because they're sending someone to try to give you this uppsigelse. He's like, be somewhere where no one would expect you to be. So like, me and my husband were like running around all of Oslo just trying to not be at home until midnight at the end of September. It was like, honestly, this experience was one of the most bizarre in my whole life. This case and this whole situation, and yeah, it was just. Also, I feel like I was an idiot. I was so naive.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to give everything because I trust everyone. And, you know, there was no agreements. There was no contracts. It was just a shit show.
Oh, okay. Because I was wondering how they could fire you. I assumed that you were a part owner and you had shares.
Yeah, all of this. I was all of this, absolutely. But what's super interesting is that with the cafe, we'd decided on a 20-20-60 split. So the investors, because they had the building, they were like, you know, we're going to take care of all of the administration and blah, 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 blah. And like of this cafe that we were building. They'd said early on that they weren't interested in the donuts because they said it wasn't going to work. Then they saw how well it was going with all the pop-ups and stuff, and they were like, you know what? I think that we should just like amalgamate we went to me and Jürgen, and Jürgen said like, Talor has built most of this. I think that the split we decided on was like 70-30. So he had 30 and I had 70 of this business that I called Frid, which is like joy. Anyway, the investors came to us and said, well, I just think it would be more tidy if we just amalgamated the donuts into the cafe.
Gotcha.
And, back then,
They
I
knew.
also didn't think that this was going to be as big as it was. Like,
Yeah.
who knew that it was going to explode into this huge national trend? Like,
Yeah.
it didn't look like, I thought it was just a neighborhood cafe. And, I just thought it would be, I would make coffees in the shop every day and it would just be very lovely, quaint, lovely, calm, awesome. But they knew. They knew. And so it was amalgamated into the business and we didn't have contracts. Like, I didn't have a working contract. And when Jürgen came to me with the contracts, he's like, don't you think it would be really, really funny if we had joke titles on our contracts? Like, not real titles, like joke titles. And so on my work contract that he gave to me in February 2018, so many months, like this is years after we started the business and also many months after we opened, the title on my contract was Browner of Beans.
Oh my God.
Isn't that fucked?
Yeah.
And I mean, the reason why because when we started, the way that the law works in Norway is that if you run a company in Norway, in hospitality, I'm not sure if it's every company, but it's certainly in hospitality, you have to have something called etablereprøven. But the test can only be taken in Norwegian.
Okay.
You cannot take it in any other language. And he said to me, of course, you would be CEO if you had enough Norwegian to take this test. But because I'm Norwegian, I'll take the test. And we agree between us. We're both CEOs. We're both CEOs. We make the decisions together. But, when it came to it in this bullshit, he was like, of course I'm CEO.
Yeah.
And you're a browner of beans.
Oh, he pulled that card.
I'm not even shitting you. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he used the joke title against you legally.
They brought it with the lawyers in the room. Like, yeah.
So then, like, on paper, you didn't have a leg to stand on because he was the CEO officially and you were the browner of beans. You got stuck with that bullshit title that they ended up fucking you over with. That's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
That is treacherous.
It's treacherous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
I'm sorry you had to go through that. I'm really sorry that you had to experience that.
I think the thing that sucks the most is that I think that there is so much value in being soft and there's so much value in being kind and there's so much value in having trust and faith in people.
Absolutely.
And I hate that this situation happened and it stripped away those things for me.
Yeah.
Because I have you heard of this concept called like radical softness? It's like allowing yourself to be vulnerable, even though the world can be a brutal place. The thing is, I want to retain that element of myself because I love it. But I think after going through this thing, it created like a scab in my soul.
Yeah.
And it makes me paranoid and fearful of people wanting to take from you. Because, these are people that he and I, we're like brother and sister.
Yeah.
We spent so much of our lives together. Like one of my cats got hit by a car and he passed away and we found him the night before, like a pop-up. And I worked through the night, like tears streaming down my face. And he like wrote a song and on the piano and he recorded it and he gave it to me as a gift. Like this is how close we were as we were so close to each other.
So you never expected it? You didn't see it coming?
No, it's like, and honestly, like, because no one is without blame in any of these situations. I'm not going to sit here and say that I was a perfect person. I was burnt out and I was turning into a person that I didn't recognize myself, but I was sick. Like I was like not well. You don't consider suicide unless you're very sick. So yeah, for sure. Like I was not the best version of myself either, but certainly like to go through that experience and to see someone that you love and care about turn into that. But like people get divorced, like husbands and wives
hurt each other. Yeah.
Exactly. Like this. And when the company was very successful straight out of the gate. Yeah. And I think when there is big money involved, people go nuts. Yeah. That's the thing. The greed
takes over.
The greed.
Like what?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like, that's one of those things that I also experienced bullying when I was a kid. Like a lot of bullying. Yeah. I was really tormented at school. Yeah, thank you. And it kind of, I never developed that radical softness or a type of softness or trust or anything like that with people because I was so used to constantly getting abused as a kid.
Yeah.
And so like I had negative experiences like the one that you went through, like very, very, very young. And I'm a relatively trustful person, but I'm always like aware of the duality of human nature, like the yin and the yang.
Yep.
Like, you know, this person that I love now, I don't know what they're going to evolve into or what the dark side of their soul could represent and do to me. But it is like this fucking like shame that people can do such fucked up things to each other and use money or greed or I don't know, fucking success to just use somebody up and spit them out and just go, oh, thanks for everything. Fuck you. Like, what the fuck is that?
Oh, it's horrific. And honestly, like I still go to therapy to this day for everything that happened. And it's because I mean the business still exists. It has a different name, which I don't like to say the name.
No, we're not going to say
it. But it makes my stomach churn to think about it and to think that they profit off my pain.
Yeah. That's terrible.
It's crazy. But, you know, I think I was really, really lucky because I walked away with a pretty handsome settlement.
Okay, good.
That helped me found Talor Made. And, you know, what it allowed me is that I laid the foundations of a very professional company.
Yeah.
You know,
you learn through the experience.
Exactly. Yeah. Everything is agreed upon. Watertight contracts. I think that we have like an extremely professional business. And, you know, even I invited like Sina to come in and to like, I wanted them to give me feedback on the business about how I could make it better.
Yep.
And they, at the end of it, they said, you know, normally we don't say stuff like this, but for a company who was, you know, basically started in COVID, grew so quickly. They said we are very impressed at how everything is as it should be. You know, they said we don't really see this very often.
Yeah.
And they said, you know, it's like a credit to you. And that's the thing, like, sure, my life had to completely implode. You know, my mum actually came to Norway during the final stages of this agreement, this settlement, just to be on suicide watch with me because it was just so bleak.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the thing, like they could have had a lot of value in destroying me, like completely taking me out of the game would have left a very handsome future for their business, you know? So they did try as best as they could to reduce me to nothing.
They took their best shot.
They did. And they still do. That's the thing. Like, because I've got a pretty public profile in the hospitality scene, because we've had an impact. Like Talor Made has
massive
had an
impact. Yes.
You see how our designs have inspired other people and how the way that we approach food and stuff has inspired other people. I don't know. People just have a bit of a target on my back because I also think that I've worked really hard and I deserve what I have because of how much effort that I've put in. And people don't like that. People don't like the fact that I have that belief. They're like, you need to be more humble and you know, I am humble in a lot of ways, but I am allowed to acknowledge that we've had a really positive impact on Oslo.
I think that's healthy too.
You gotta. If I don't, no one else is gonna.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but it definitely seems like you went through a difficult time and on the flip side of that ended up creating something that you did in the way that you wanted to do something, and it ended up being, I mean, I don't know, like you know, silver lining kind of shit, right? And like I always think that if you're happy now, everything that you went through is something that contributed to the happiness. You know what I mean? But the flip side of that is sometimes it breaks people. And if you go through something and you're not happy now, then that past trauma, that ended up like snatching your soul. But you reclaimed your soul You got it back and you grew and you
say
fucking
that.
crushed.
I'm still working on it, man. It's like
Yeah, it's easy for me to say, just based on the external success that I've seen of your company and having this conversation now. But I must, it must have.
It's been really, really hard.
Yeah.
And it's something that never really goes away either. Because they're still there and they still have a vested interest in destroying me. So, I mean, like I have, it's made me maybe have a little bit more of an understanding about how nothing in life is black and white. People are not good or bad. They're just people who are maybe caught in a weird situation. And that's the thing, like I also never take anybody's...
That's an interesting view, that people aren't inherently good or bad.
No.
It's just the situation that they're in forces them to do something.
Yeah, exactly. And like now that I have this belief, I also understand that whilst Jürgen did some like reprehensible things, there's something that's gone on that's made him do that. And I can't live my life hating anyone.
Do you forgive him?
I did send him an email maybe about a year ago saying that like I would never have what I have now had it not been for what happened. And I said that I wish him all the, like, whilst it's I don't ever agree with anything that happened, I also still wish him all the best. I don't think that he would have the life that he have if it wasn't for me. And no. I hope that he acknowledges that,
Yeah.
He sent me back a message saying, I'll never forgive you. It was the worst time of my life. And but that's the thing. This is why I go to therapy. I can't walk around with despising anybody because all it does is hurt me. It's like
eats you up from the inside.
It's like holding a piece of coal.
Yeah.
If I hold on to that, the only person it hurts is me, But yeah, like that's what's really hard is if you think about this concept of like nobody's inherently evil. It's just people do bad things. You have this empathy for almost everybody.
Yeah.
Like you could take it as far as like, fuck, Hitler had a really bad childhood. Something really terrible must have happened to him for him to be that way.
Yeah.
And not that I'm a Hitler apologist.
No. I know what you mean.
But do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just taking like the most extreme example. And
Hitler probably thought he was doing the right thing. Or whatever. I don't know.
The mental, that's the thing.
In his head, he would justify everything.
Everybody thinks that they're doing the right thing because like the mental gymnastics that you can do. And once you have that like enormous empathy for everybody, I mean, my therapist tells me that I should be a little bit more of an asshole to people because I'm way too forgiving to everybody.
Yeah, but that's a self-serving philosophy to be forgiving as well. Because like you said, you can't hold on to that coal.
No.
But it seems like you understand what people are capable of, protect yourself against it, be trusting, be open, but, trust but verify, all that kind of shit, right?
Just get your contracts in order.
Yeah.
That's the thing. As long as everything's agreed on beforehand, everything is fine. I think like lay the rules of the game out and play the game.
Yeah, that's it. One thing that when you were like recently talking, I thought like, you hear that expression, hurt people. But it seems like even though you got hurt and now you're in a position of power within your business, you're doing everything you can to make sure that people don't get hurt.
I also hurt people though too, because like, as I said, I've got like a spicy brain. Sometimes I do and say things without realizing what I've done and said.
Oh yeah. Yes.
I wouldn't say that I'm like on the autism spectrum, but I would say that I'm like, just sometimes like, what's happening in here is different to what's going on outside. And, I own the mistakes that I make and, I try to apologize if I do the wrong things. And the thing is, you cannot have a team of 45 employees and be perfect.
Definitely not.
No way.
Yeah.
And also, I think the other interesting thing is that a lot of people might know me from social media and you have a little bit of this, I don't know if you heard of this concept. Oh, what's it called? Parasocial relationships.
Never heard of it.
So it's the idea that like if you see somebody on social media, you think that you know them.
Yeah.
You have this intimacy with this person. So some of the people who have come to work with us, they have this parasocial relationship with me, and they think that they know who I am, and they project their ideas of who I am onto me.
Yeah.
And then when I don't meet those expectations and I'm not perfect, then it kind of like destroys this image that they have. And for me, the people that have had the best success in Talor Made are people that have never heard anything about the company before, and that they come and they work with us and they're like, holy shit, this is a really great place to work.
Yeah.
But they need to come with zero expectations, you know?
That's such an interesting concept. Parasocial.
It's interesting that you've never heard about it,
I've never heard
considering
about
your
it.
own profile. Like,
Yeah, well, you know, when I meet people that say that they listen to the podcast, I never even think about how much they must know about me and like how much, you know, I say that they must form their own opinion about. But I also think it is a bit different with the podcast because, I mean, I'm doing, you know, 2 or 3 episodes every week for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. So maybe like the representation of me is easier for them to grasp than seeing a picture or like a post or something like that. But yeah, wow, that's parasocial. I guess that's a fucking new phenomenon.
it's wild. And I mean, even I get it with some people.
Yeah.
Like you meet them in person and you think like, oh,
that's what they say.
It's different.
Never meet your heroes. That's what I've heard. But I have met a few heroes and they've been fucking awesome.
I'm really glad that you've had that experience.
I have.
I think, you know, being a woman as well puts another layer on top of it of like, you know, you're just expected to take care of everyone else's needs before your own. And I think going from what I've done before to what I'm doing now, like me having boundaries and delegating.
So important.
And, you know, I have to put my life jacket on first sometimes.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Well, I mean, sometimes as a boss, you have to make sacrifices, unfortunately. But
yeah, I understand. I understand. But you know, the put your mask on. I guess it has to at a certain point. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
You got to you got to make sure that you're okay for everybody else to be okay.
100%.
You can't sacrifice too much of yourself.
Yeah. For sure.
Shit, what a fucking journey. That's crazy. And you know, like one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was the entrepreneurial journey because it's very romanticized. A lot of people are like, you know, they think of Steve Jobs or, you know, the guys that created Spotify. And before you understand how many obstacles are in the way to creating success, you don't truly understand what is necessary to go through in order to accomplish something. It's very, very, very unexpected and difficult to get where you want to go. The path isn't always clear.
I think it's just pure stubbornness, to be honest. It's like this never give up, I'll be able to figure this out. Don't take no for an answer kind of thing. And, you know, like what people don't see is, you know, the almost destruction of my marriage, you know, because you have to prioritize work. And that means that you shift your priorities from home. And, you know, I'm 34. Been married for 8 years and we don't have a kid. And there's a reason why we don't have a kid, you know.
Because the store's your kid.
It's like you have to make these sacrifices, right?
Yeah.
And I think that everybody wants what I have, but nobody wants to do what I've done to get there. Like the price that I've paid is very, very high.
Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die.
100%. And the other thing as well, like one of my mates, she owns this beauty healthcare business. She said, oh, you know, sometimes I talk about you and the clients say like, oh shit, Talor must be like, where's her yacht, you know? Dude, if I want to break down how much my hourly salary would be, especially because from 2015 to 2017, at the December 2017, so 2 full years, I almost didn't get paid. Like all the money that we made went back into the business. And then when we opened in 2017, we did like 8 million Norwegian in the first year, but I was getting paid 350,000 to do those 350 hours a week.
Yeah.
You know, if I want to break down how much I've actually, like now I'm getting okay money, but it's not great. It's for the work that I do, it's not great.
Yeah.
Because I don't set my salary, the board does, you know, and I'm realistic of like running a hospitality business in this climate right now. You don't make money. Like that's the thing. Everyone's like, oh, you know, you it's 49 kroner a donut. Like you must be making so much money. But you have to, like, somebody has to make these donuts and I want to pay those people fairly. Somebody has to sell the donuts and I also want to pay them fairly. These stores are really beautiful. That doesn't happen by accident.
No.
You know, we use the best quality ingredients in everything.
Yeah.
And it means that there's just this tiny little cream left on the top and then you want to reinvest that back into the business. And
Yeah.
I'm not sitting here making the big bucks. It's just I'm building a business that will hopefully be future proof. Like,
but I think it's really important that you say that. I think it's really important that people understand like how much money has to get reinvested into something to create growth.
I mean, I can tell you just the other day, something was happening with the coffee machine and we had to call out a tech to fix the coffee machine. 11,000 kroner later. That's like a whole day's trade.
Wow.
You know, and these are things that, you know, the individual who's buying a latte is not thinking about.
No.
But it comes up. It crops up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And you know, you have to make these decisions. Okay, am I going to spend that money to fix this thing or are we going to find a workaround around it? It's like, it's so incredibly unsexy.
Yeah. But again, I think that's why it's so important to do something that you love and something that you're passionate about, because the reward isn't financial, really. I mean, financial success is a byproduct of you being able to do something that you really, really, really love.
Absolutely. And it's cool that I have like a livable salary now. You know, my husband and I, we bought, like he owned the place that we lived in.
Yeah.
And then we bought together in 2020.
Yeah.
And that was the first time that I've ever owned property before.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
And but you know, I have no pension because I've done so many years of not earning anything.
Yeah.
And you know, these are sacrifices that people just don't think about, you know, and I have to think about when I'm 65, okay, what does this look like after that? So, but yeah, as I said, everybody wants what you have, but they don't, I don't know. And it's so hard as well because like so many, all over Norway, so many people are co-opting my ideas and my brands. And
of course.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, I've seen it a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I had to pay the price for it. And now that they can just like reap the benefits. And, you know, I think imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but it also does annoy me a little bit.
Yeah, it must.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Damn. You had a fucking roller coaster adventure in Norway, haven't you?
It's true. And you know what? I just hope that I've made this place a little bit nicer. Like I've left it better than I found it. That's kind of my goal.
Yeah.
So,
I think you definitely have.
hope so.
Yeah, you're not finished yet.
No.
Not even close, I can imagine.
No.
Shit.
I want to have a sleep though. I want to have a good nap.
Yeah.
Maybe have a little bit of a holiday and then I'll come back and give it another go.
Yeah, you need to have holidays. You got to go. You got to get some time out. Yeah, it's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think you've definitely made Norway a better place. I mean, just from my experiences of visiting your store, it's a treat. Like it's okay, you know, if your kids are good, we're going to go. And like the experience that I get when I go into Talor Made, I think is everything that you've worked so hard to try to create.
Thanks so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I love what you're doing. I'm a huge fan.
Thanks
huge
so much.
fan. And not just of the Vegemite scrolls either. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate you so much for saying that.
Oh.
A lot of love has gone into it. So if people see it, that makes me happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Holy shit. Is there anything else you want to say? Maybe we can, like, you got any, like, do you want to just, what are your plans for the future?
Plans for the future?
You have 3 stores now.
I'm writing a book.
You're writing a book.
Yep.
You should write a book. That's great.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, I think that the topic of the book is a little bit about like what we've just been discussing, but condensed and then have some nice recipes alongside.
Oh, wow. Is it like a cookbook combined with experience kind of thing?
Exactly. It's a little bit about like, I've got a weird brain, but I was able to do something cool. Here's a recipe for pancakes.
Wow.
It's a bit of a weird one, but
yeah. That's crazy. Shit.
Yep. So that's next. And then just trying to find time to sit down in front of my computer and write that. Right now we're working on a big range of savories. So sausage rolls, pies, like those type of things.
Oh, nice.
Nobody's done it here.
No.
Nobody's done it.
Thank you for doing that, by the way.
My God, I just, it's purely selfish. I want it just for myself. So.
Yeah, good. That's great. I know there was a guy in Kristiansand who was doing meat pie and sausage roll runs.
Yeah.
But he was coming like once every 2 or 3 months or something.
And this is the thing, like, I think he was making really really good stuff, but I want to be able to make it every single day. And honestly, my dream is like if I can have them inside 7-Eleven. Like, because, you know, in Oz, they're in 7-Eleven and it's just such a good, like, grab and go food. Yeah. So for me, I think that's my next little project and we're making some good headway on that.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. Because, you know, I talk to my friends and I'm like, you know, like, you want to get a pølse at 7-Eleven? Like, I don't want a fucking pølse. I want a meat pie. I want a sausage roll.
I know.
They go, what's a meat pie? I go, you've never had a meat pie?
We're going to change their lives. It's going to be great.
I think you're going to do it.
Yeah.
I think you're going to do it.
I have the stuff. It's in the bakery. I've been working on the pastry recipes. It's just about making it like getting it into production.
Yeah, okay.
It just takes some effort.
Wow. So you're like with the meat pie sausage rolls, you're going to have them at Talor Made and you're going to try to get them into other stores eventually.
If we can get the price down enough that it would be attractive for 7-Eleven.
That's a whole new market. So you're going to basically do with meat pies and sausage rolls what you've done with donuts.
Hopefully.
Wow. That's a game changer.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you afraid of failure?
No.
Good.
I mean, I've failed so many times, so that's...
Yeah.
I failed in the most spectacular way that you could.
Yeah.
I failed so publicly. Like, yeah. So, I mean, everyone has an opinion about me.
Yeah.
And I have to just keep on surviving. Like, if I would let the weight of that crush me, I would already be dead, honestly. Yeah.
Fuck.
But I've gotten pretty close too. So
yeah,
like, I know the Norwegian mental health care system very well.
I bet you do. But I think that attitude of not being afraid to fail is probably one of the most essential attitudes that a human being can have, because so many people are crippled by an anxiety of not being able to succeed that they don't even try. And then you've beaten yourself before the world has. And to me, I think that's probably the scariest situation that a person can find themselves in when it comes to their future. I
was talking to my mum about this the other day and I said, you know what? Even if everything went tits up now, I could still walk away and said I did great because I've literally had just like some of the biggest impact that I could imagine, you know?
Yeah.
Like when I was working for Tim, when I left, he said to me like, I know whatever you do, whatever you go on to do is going to be great. And I think that I have built... like the reason why I didn't want to just do another coffee business was because I didn't want to just take what Tim did, just do it a different way.
Yeah.
I wanted to do something completely of my own that had my own soul in it. And yeah, I feel like people meet me sometimes and they're like, oh, you're the donut lady. You know, when the people would say to Tim, oh, you're the coffee guy.
Yeah.
You know, I made my own thing and I made my own mark and I am my own person.
Yeah.
Somebody took a photo of me on the tram the other day and I'm like, whoa, I'm not like, call me a celebrity. Like, what's going on?
It is funny that people call you the donut lady. Yeah. Because when I was talking to people about like who I'm going to have on the podcast next, I go, she's the donut queen of Norway. That's what I know you as.
It's very surreal.
Yeah, like, it's bizarre.
You know, and the whole Janteloven thing, like, I don't feel super comfortable calling myself the donut queen, but if they want to call me that, then go for it.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, that's maybe what the title of the book is going to be.
Oh, wow. That's a great title. Holy shit.
Yeah.
One last thing. Do you have any advice for people listening that want to start their own thing that you could tell them from your experience?
Absolutely. I taught somebody named Nico who owns a cafe in Paris called Holly Belly. He and I met when we were both living in Melbourne and he really desperately wanted someone to teach him how to make coffee. It's very hard to get your foot in the door in Melbourne because the level of quality is very high. So to be a beginner is quite challenging. And yeah, he came and I taught him how to make coffee at Duchess of Spotswood, a place that I was managing before I moved to Paris. And Holly Belly's gone on to be this revolutionary game changer in Paris. Like they completely reimagined breakfast in France, lines out the door of both of their shops all the time, all day. It's incredible. It's an incredible business. And when I met Nico, the thing that he said to me was that don't just talk about what you're doing. You actually have to do it. Like just do the thing. If you've never done, no one's done the thing you've done before, just do it. And that's the thing. There's never going to be an answer, or you're never going to feel 100% ready. There's never going to be a roadmap exactly for the thing that you want to do. But you figure it out. Every time there's ever been a problem at Talor Made or even in the business before, you just, because there's no one else to do it, you just figure it out. And people think of me at work of like, oh yeah, Talor can solve all the problems. It's like, yeah, because I don't have a choice about solving problems. You just got to solve it, you know? And anyone can do that. Literally, that you don't have to have a special skill. It's just being stubborn, being obstinate, and yeah, anyone can do anything, honestly. If you have the will and the drive, you'll figure it out. And yeah, this has been the biggest motivator for me in my business, is like seeing how many things that obstacles that I could just overcome just out of pure perseverance. Yeah, and anyone can. I'm not special. That's the thing. I'm not special. I just didn't give up.
Yeah. I think that's fucking pretty good fucking advice. Yeah, because there's always going to be obstacles and you're always going to have to solve problems. Just don't let the problem stop you.
Exactly.
Just solve this one and there's another one. Keep solving, keep solving, keep solving.
The sewer explodes, you just clean it up and keep going.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine.
Nice. Well, thank you for being a guest on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a really fantastic conversation.
It was fun.
Yeah.
And I got to learn so much about you and about what you're doing and what you've been through and about, you know, everything around what you're trying to create. And if anybody's listening, Talor Made fucking donuts are insane. They are so good. Like, they are so good. Do you just want to like tell people where the stores are?
Yeah, sure thing. So we have 3 shops, one up at Lillogård, one down at Bispevika, which is right by the Monk Museum, and one inside Palais. And then maybe December, January is going to be Sesevest out on the west side. My favorite one is actually our first one at Lillogård. It's so cozy and comfortable, but in the summertime to go like swimming down at Bispevika, it's a magic little place by the sea. So
perfect. And I love the Vegemite scrolls. So if you like Australian culture and you want to try something fucking Aussie as shit, hook up a Vegemite scroll. The donuts are delicious too.
Yeah, we also make very, very good coffee as well. Like we roast all our own coffee, and that's kind of my wheelhouse actually. So the donuts just kind of came second.
Yeah, grab a coffee. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Talor.
Thank you so much.
All right. See you later, everybody. Mwah.